It's strange how easy it is to ruin a person with proof that doesn't exist. I learned that the hard way. Her name was Ava. We'd been together for 2 years. Not perfect, but stable, or so I thought. We had small arguments, normal ones, about time, about work, about how she said I never listened. But there was nothing that hinted at what was coming. It began with something small, like it always does. She started checking my phone more often, saying it was just a joke. When I asked her to stop, she'd smirk and say, "What? Are you hiding something?" I laughed it off, thinking it was harmless. But deep down, something in her tone, that cold curiosity, felt wrong. Then one evening, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her face was pale, her hands shaking, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. "I know," she whispered. I stared at her, confused. "Know what?" She held up her phone, showing me screenshots, messages I'd never seen before. My name at the top, my photo beside each text. "You're the only one who gets me. I can't tell Ava about us yet. Meet me tomorrow, same place." They looked real. Every font, every timestamp, every detail. But I'd never sent them. At first, I laughed, thinking it was some twisted prank. "Where did you get this?" I asked. "Don't lie," she said softly. "She sent them to me. The woman you've been seeing. Do you want me to read what else you said?" I felt my stomach drop. "Ava, I didn't send those." "Then why did she call me?" She showed me a call log, an unknown number, 17 minutes long. She told me everything, Ava said. She told me how you said you felt trapped, how you were only with me out of guilt. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't hear it. The more I defended myself, the guiltier I looked. That was the genius of it. She had built the lie so carefully that even the truth sounded like an excuse. That night, she left in tears. I called, I texted, I begged her to meet me and talk, but she blocked me everywhere. For 2 days, I didn't sleep. Then, on the 3rd day, she posted a photo, a quote. "When they show you who they are, believe them." The comments flooded with sympathy. People writing things like, "You deserve better, he never deserved you, stay strong, girl." And just like that, I wasn't a boyfriend anymore. I was the villain in her story. I spent hours trying to trace the screenshots, the number, anything that could prove my innocence. But nothing. Whoever had made them knew what they were doing. And the more I tried to disprove it, the more people saw me as obsessed, defensive, guilty. That's when I realized maybe it wasn't another woman at all. Maybe it was her. Maybe she made everything up. Maybe she wanted to see how far she could push me before I broke. But why? I didn't have an answer then. I just knew one thing. The woman I loved had turned into someone I couldn't recognize. And she wasn't finished. Because lies, once told, start to demand evidence. And the next time I saw her, she had plenty. A week later, I saw her again. Not because she called, she wouldn't even answer my messages, but because one of her friends, Clara, texted me. "Ava's not doing well," she said. "She hasn't eaten in days. Maybe you should come and explain yourself." Explain myself. Those words felt like a trap, but I went anyway. When I walked into Ava's apartment, it was dark except for the soft light of her laptop. She was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes red and swollen. Clara was beside her, arms crossed like a guard. Ava didn't look at me. She just pointed at the screen. "Go ahead," she said. "Explain this." It was a video, grainy, blurry, clearly filmed from a distance. But there I was, sitting at a cafe, talking to a woman I didn't recognize. She leaned forward once, and my hand brushed hers when I reached for the cup. From that angle, it looked like a secret date. "I don't even know her," I said. Ava gave a dry laugh. "Of course you don't. They never do." I looked closer. I remembered that cafe. I'd been there that day, meeting a freelance client about a design project. I could even name the woman, but explaining that felt useless. Ava had already decided the story, and in her version, I was guilty. "Who filmed this?" I asked. She didn't answer. Clara spoke instead. "You know what's sad? We warned her about you. We told her you were too charming, too good to be true. Guess we were right." That's when I realized Ava had been building this for weeks, maybe months. The proof wasn't random. It was curated, edited, designed to be just believable enough. When I left, I felt something inside me crack. It wasn't just the loss of trust. It was the realization that she was planning all of this while still telling me she loved me. Over the next few days, the rumors spread like wildfire. People I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly messaged me with advice or warnings. One coworker asked quietly if I'd really been cheating. My boss called me in and said, "You should take some time off. It's better for the company's image." I tried to confront Ava, but she wouldn't meet me. She sent me a voice message instead, calm, composed, rehearsed. "I forgive you," she said, "even if you can't admit it yet. I just hope one day you find peace." It was the kind of message that made her look like the saint, the strong woman healing from betrayal, and me like the coward who couldn't face his guilt. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the cafe footage, the screenshots, every piece of evidence. Then I noticed something. In one of the screenshots she showed me, my message timestamp was 2:17 a.m., but the background of my photo was daylight. She'd used an old photo from months ago, a photo I'd sent her once when we were still in love. She didn't find that evidence. She made it. And once I knew that, everything changed. But I still didn't know how far she was willing to go. Because soon, she wasn't just destroying my reputation. She started taking apart my life. 2 weeks after the cafe video, I got an email from my boss. The subject line read, "We need to talk, urgent." I opened it, and my stomach dropped. Attached were screenshots, again of me. Messages supposedly sent from my company email to one of our clients. "You're beautiful even when you're angry. Let's continue our private meetings without the team next time, winky face." There was a timestamp, a company signature, even my full name. Everything looked legitimate, but I hadn't written a single word of it. I went cold. I'd seen her do this once already, but how did she get into my work email? When I got to the office, my manager was waiting for me in his glass-walled office. He didn't even look angry, just disappointed. "We have to take this seriously," he said. "HR's involved. We can't afford a harassment complaint." I tried to explain. I told him about Ava, about the fake screenshots, about everything. But the more I spoke, the more insane it sounded. A jealous girlfriend faking emails from a corporate domain? It was unbelievable, and that was her genius. He sighed. "Look, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, but this is serious. Take a few weeks off. Let things cool down." "Cool down?" I asked. "She's destroying my life." He leaned forward. "Then you need to figure out why." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, scrolling through months of old messages. Every photo I'd ever sent her. Every little joke, every voice note. Somewhere in there, she had taken my words, my images, and rebuilt me into a version of myself that she could destroy. Then I got another message from a number I didn't recognize. Just one sentence. "She warned me about you." It was one of my colleagues, the woman from the cafe. I called her immediately. She didn't pick up. 10 minutes later, she texted again. She told me everything. How you threatened her after she found out about us. "Please stop contacting me." That's when I realized Ava had gone beyond lies. She was rewriting history. She was crafting an entire alternate version of my life. One where I was the villain in every room. Over the next few days, everything unraveled. My company suspended me pending investigation. Friends stopped replying. Even my own sister asked, "Did something happen between you and Ava?" It was like drowning in public. Everyone could see you struggling, but they thought you deserved it. I started to piece together how she did it. She had access to my passwords, not because I gave them, but because she'd once installed a couples tracking app on my phone for transparency. I deleted it months ago, or at least I thought I did. She'd used it to collect everything, photos, messages, even fragments of conversations, then twisted them until truth and fiction were indistinguishable. But there was still something I didn't understand. Why? Why destroy me so completely? Then, one night, Clara called me, Ava's best friend. Her voice was low, shaky. "You need to stop calling her," she said. "You're making her worse." "I haven't called her in days." Silence. "Then who's been sending her the voicemails?" I froze. "What voicemails?" "She said you keep leaving them," Clara whispered. "She even played one for me." It hit me like a punch. She was recording her own messages, pretending they were from me. My voice, my number, my guilt. And Clara wasn't the only one who'd heard them. I wasn't just losing my job. I was losing reality itself. By the time I decided to fight back, I'd already lost almost everything that mattered. My job was temporarily suspended. My reputation online was in pieces, thanks to vague, poetic posts from Ava that painted me as dangerous but never used my name. Everyone knew who she meant, though. Everyone always knew. I started collecting evidence, the same way she had: screenshots, timestamps, copies of every message. I printed everything. My apartment walls were covered in notes, trying to map out how she'd built her lies. The cafe footage, the fake emails, the audio messages she supposedly received from me. And then I noticed something strange. The voicemails she claimed were mine, the ones she played to her friends, had a strange digital echo. The kind that comes from voice modulation software. I spent nights comparing the pitch, the pauses, the rhythm. It was my voice, but distorted, like someone had stitched together words from real conversations and built new sentences. She had turned my voice into her weapon. I took the audio files to a tech friend of mine, Alex, who worked in cybersecurity. He spent 2 days running an analysis and called me at 2 a.m. "Whoever did this," he said, used deepfake-level software, not amateur stuff. And they had a ton of data on you. Old voicemails, call samples, everything. Someone obsessed. He paused before adding, "She planned this for a long time." The next morning, I drove to her apartment. I don't even remember the road, just the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. I wasn't going to hurt her. I just wanted the truth. I needed to hear her admit it. But when she opened the door, she didn't look surprised. She looked ready, like she'd been waiting for me. "You shouldn't be here," she said quietly. "I told the police you might come." Before I could even respond, 2 officers stepped out from behind her doorway. "Sir," one of them said, "we've had a report of harassment and stalking." I froze. "What?" Ava's eyes filled with tears, perfectly timed. "He won't leave me alone. He keeps calling, following me, showing up at my work." "That's not true," I shouted. "She's lying. She faked everything. I can prove it." The officers exchanged a look that said everything. They'd heard it all before. The crazy ex. The desperate man trying to gaslight the woman he couldn't control. One of them asked for my ID, the other took notes. Ava kept her head down, trembling just enough to look fragile. When they finally left, warning me to keep my distance, I saw it, that smirk she tried to hide, the one that said checkmate. I went home shaking. Within hours, a post appeared on her profile. "Healing isn't linear, but sometimes you have to protect your peace, even from those who once said they loved you." The comments exploded. "You're so brave. Stay safe, girl. Men like him never change." I realized then that I was no longer just losing to her lies. I was trapped inside them. I was the monster in her story, and every time I tried to defend myself, I made it more believable. The next day, I received a restraining order. She had taken everything: my job, my friends, my name, and now my freedom. But she'd made one mistake. In one of the screenshots she'd posted online, I noticed something almost invisible, a small, mirrored reflection in her laptop screen. A reflection of her own hand, holding my phone. That reflection haunted me. I stared at it for hours, zooming in, brightening the image until the pixels blurred. But there was no doubt. It was my phone, my case, my reflection in her laptop screen. That one accidental capture had exposed everything. She wasn't getting those screenshots from someone else. She was making them herself from my device. It explained everything. The fake messages, the altered timestamps, the audio files that sounded like me. She hadn't hacked me from the outside. She'd used the inside. My own phone, my own accounts. I remember the night she asked to borrow it. She said hers was dead, just needed to make a quick call. It lasted 3 minutes. I never thought about it again. But now I knew. In those 3 minutes, she mirrored my data, cloned my cloud access, and took every piece of me she needed to build her story. I called Alex again. He ran a trace and confirmed it. Months ago, someone had logged into my account from a second device. All my files, my photos, my messages backed up somewhere I couldn't reach. When I asked him if we could trace the location, he hesitated. "I can try," he said, "but if she realizes you're digging into it, she'll go nuclear." He was right, because that's exactly what happened. The night after he started tracing her activity, I got a message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. Nice try. And then, a few minutes later, she posted a story, a photo of a man's silhouette at night, captioned, "He won't stop until I'm gone." It didn't show my face, but it didn't have to. The implication was clear. Her followers flooded the comments, begging her to stay safe, offering to call the police again. She knew exactly what she was doing, painting herself as the victim just as I was starting to get close to the truth. I started saving everything, backing it up, documenting her lies. But she always stayed one step ahead. She must have noticed Alex's activity, because the next day, his apartment was broken into. His laptop gone. His phone smashed. The police called it a random robbery, but I knew better. Ava had always been careful. She knew how to make chaos look like coincidence. Then came the breaking point. One night, I came home and found my doors slightly open. My chest tightened. I walked inside and froze. My living room was a mess, drawers pulled out, papers scattered. On the wall, written in red lipstick, were 3 words, "You can't win." There was a small box on the table. Inside were printed photos, me sleeping, me walking to my car, me sitting on my couch. Every single one taken from somewhere outside my window. She was showing me that she could get to me whenever she wanted. That night, I packed my things and left the apartment. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town, curtains closed, phone off. I barely slept. Every sound outside made my pulse race. But in the silence of that room, I decided something. If she wanted to ruin me, I would make sure the world saw who she really was first. So I did the one thing she didn't expect. I went to the police myself. Not to defend, but to attack. I showed them everything. The clone data, the fake screenshots, the deep-faked audio. I gave him the reflection photo, the one with her holding my phone. The detective looked skeptical at first, but when he saw the reflection and matched the phone case to mine, something changed in his eyes. He asked for a few days to investigate. Those days felt endless. But for the first time in months, I felt something close to hope. Until the call came. The detective's voice was grim. "We found her," he said, "but you might want to sit down before I tell you where." My heart dropped. "Where?" He sighed. "At her therapist's office. She's filed a statement saying you're still stalking her, and that she's afraid for her life." She wasn't defending herself anymore. She was escalating. And I realized, maybe she didn't just want to destroy my life. Maybe she wanted to destroy my mind. They came for me at dawn. The knock wasn't violent, but the kind that makes your bones ache, slow, deliberate, official. I opened the door and found 2 officers waiting, their faces blank. One of them said my name like it was a sentence. "You're under arrest for harassment, stalking, and unlawful surveillance." It didn't matter how much I protested. They read me my rights, while Ava's fabricated evidence did the talking. Photos, messages, recordings. She turned fiction into law. The station was cold, the walls painted in that sterile gray that drains all emotion. They kept me in an interrogation room for hours. The detective from before, the one who'd believed me, or at least pretended to, walked in eventually. He dropped a folder on the table and slid it toward me. Inside were printed screenshots again, but these were worse. They looked like text exchanges between me and Ava, threatening her. "If you ruin me, I'll ruin you first. You'll regret ever crossing me." There was even one that said, "I'm watching you right now." I stared at them, numb. "That's not me," I said. He rubbed his temples. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." He exhaled, leaned back. "You know, I wanted to believe you. But then she showed me this." He pulled out a flash drive and inserted it into the computer. A video started playing. It was me, or at least it looked like me, standing outside Ava's apartment at night, pounding on her door, shouting. The footage was grainy, low quality, but the figures build, movements, even a voice, all mine. Except I hadn't been there. That was the moment I understood the scale of what she'd done. She hadn't just edited screenshots or forged texts. She had created an entire version of me out of pixels and fear. I sat there, shaking my head, whispering to myself, "It's not real." The detective finally said, quietly, "Then prove it." They released me on bail after 48 hours, thanks to Alex, my only remaining ally, who had called in a favor from a lawyer he knew. But when I walked out of that building, I could feel eyes on me. The officers, the journalists, even random people outside. I wasn't a man anymore. I was a headline. Local man under investigation for stalking ex-girlfriend. Ava was winning. Completely. But her perfection was also her weakness. People like her. They can't resist control. They always overplay their hand. And she did, 2 days later. Alex called me again, his voice urgent. You need to come over. Now. Well, I got there. He showed me his computer screen. He'd been monitoring a private cloud linked to her fake accounts, the one she used to post evidence. Look at this, he said, zooming in. One of the photo files, a screenshot of my supposed messages, had hidden metadata attached. Ava had edited it on her laptop, using her own registered software license. Her name was embedded in the file's code. Her arrogance had left a fingerprint. Alex backed everything up on encrypted drives. If we can show this to the police, he said, they'll have to reopen your case. For the first time in months, I felt something other than fear. I felt purpose. But before we could deliver it, Ava struck again. The next morning, I woke up to news alerts. A fire had broken out in an apartment downtown. The address was Alex's. The official story said it was an electrical malfunction. The building was gone, and so was every trace of the evidence we'd gathered. I drove there anyway, past the barricades, the smoke, the flashing lights. The fire chief told me no one was found inside. That should have been a relief. But the emptiness in my chest said otherwise. That night, I received another message. No words this time, just a photo. It was of me, standing outside Alex's burned building. The caption read, "You really shouldn't have gone there." That's when I understood. She wasn't trying to ruin my life anymore. She was trying to end it. I stopped sleeping altogether after that night. Every shadow looked like her silhouette. Every buzz of my phone sounded like another threat. I kept the curtains closed, the lights off, my laptop running 24 hours a day with one purpose: to find something, anything, that would finally expose her. I wasn't trying to clear my name anymore. I just wanted to make her stop. But how do you fight someone who's already rewritten the world's version of you? Days blurred together. I barely ate, barely spoke. I spent hours scrolling through her posts, through the endless stream of people praising her strength, her courage to speak out. She had turned my destruction into performance art. Every post was a masterpiece of manipulation, vague enough to protect her from legal risk, sharp enough to cut me open a little deeper each time. And then one day, buried in the flood of her new followers' comments, I saw it. A username I recognized. It was Alex. At first, I thought it was someone impersonating him. But then I clicked. The account was real, old, untouched for years, until now. And the last thing posted on it, only a few hours earlier, was a short video clip. It started with static, then shifted to screen recording footage. I saw the familiar blue and white layout of a messaging app. Ava's name at the top. The conversation looked recent. Her words filled the screen. He still thinks I'm the victim. He doesn't know what's coming next. Then a photo attachment. The one of me at Alex's burned apartment. Alex's voice played over it, faint but clear. She sent this to me by mistake. I froze. The clip cut to a new view. The metadata window from her fake screenshots. Exactly what we'd found before the fire. He'd save it somewhere else. Hidden it. At the end of the video, Alex spoke again, his tone quiet, almost hollow. If you're watching this, it means I didn't make it out. But don't let her bury the truth. My hands were shaking as I downloaded the clip. It was enough. Finally, it was enough. I went back to the police station. They didn't believe me at first. Why would they? But then I played the video. The room went silent. The detective who'd interrogated me leaned forward, his jaw tightening. He watched it twice, then 3 times. Finally, he looked at me. Where did you get this? It was sent to me by a friend, I said. He's gone. That same day, they filed for a digital warrant. Within 48 hours, they traced the IP addresses behind her posts, her fake accounts, even the manipulated footage. Everything led back to her laptop, her network, her home. When they brought her in, she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even speak. She just sat there, staring at me through the glass with a calm, unblinking smile. The same smile she had the night she framed me. The same one that once made me believe I was safe. The trial took months. The story exploded online. The woman who faked her own abuse. Her followers vanished overnight. The same people who had called me a monster now filled comment sections with apologies, sympathy, disbelief. But none of it mattered. They weren't there when it happened. They didn't live it. They only watched. When it was all over, I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel free. I just felt empty. Because by the time the truth finally surfaced, there was nothing left of the person I'd been before her. My job was gone. My friends had moved on. My name would always be tied to hers. Even in justice, we were bound together. Two ghosts in the same, unfinished story. Sometimes I still dream about her. Not the version that destroyed me. The version I first fell for. The way she laughed. The way she leaned her head on my shoulder like she was tired of the world. And in those dreams, I almost believe she was real once. That there was a woman behind the monster. But then I wake up, and the silence reminds me, monsters aren't born. They're built. Carefully. Patiently. And they start by convincing you they're the only one who understands you. I'm not telling this story for sympathy. I'm telling it as a warning. Because people like her don't just steal your life. They make you apologize for losing it. So if you ever meet someone who thrives on your confusion, who twists your words until you start to doubt your own thoughts, don't wait for proof. Don't wait to be sure. Just run. Because the truth might save you in the end, but by the time it does, there might not be anything left of you to save.